Hey all, it's Paul from Drums and Rums with the Backbeats Meets the Spirit. This episode is sponsored by Club Tiki. Visit them at clubtikico.com to order rum-based cocktails in a can. Use promo code Drums and Rums to receive a discount and free shipping when you order 2 4-packs or more. They can the tropics so you don't have to.
I'm having once upon a bottle of rum.
Hey all, it's Paul from Drums and Rums with the Backbeats Meets the Spirits. I'm out of the studio today. I love being when I travel and meeting interesting guests, meeting rum distillers, drummers, all sorts of interesting people. And today I am in Clayton, North Carolina. How the fuck did I end up in Clayton, North Carolina? Well, there's a little bit of story here. As you see, our guest here is with us on the camera, and I'm going to introduce him in a moment. But we actually met eons ago, it feels like.
Yeah.
And it was all through some Facebook, right? And it wasn't a weird Facebook, desperately seeking.
I mean, I didn't call it Facebook. I call it Grindr. But I mean, you can call it Facebook, whatever you want.
Yeah, okay.
Tinder, Grindr, Facebook's all the same thing.
Is that code word or something? All right, let me introduce to the podcast Eric Tansey. He is. I've got a whole long rap sheet here of what he is, who
None
he
of
is.
it's important.
The only thing important though is what we want to talk about today is Instill Distilling. So
rum.
welcome to the podcast, Eric.
Thanks, and welcome to Claytona Beach.
Yes. So I want to talk about Clayton. I love it because so I still have family that lives in Daytona Beach, Florida.
Yeah.
And I love to play on the. Show me. Can you give me directions to the beach?
You just take 40 all the way down. You leave here, you go left on 70, get on 40, and then.
So why are more places called beach when they are 3 hours away from?
Right. Well, I'm from St. Augustine Beach, Florida, or like between the beach and between St. Augustine and Jacksonville. Back then there wasn't a name for it. The address was St. Augustine, Florida. Now and then it became Switzerland, Florida, and then it became like Fruit Cove, Florida. Then it became Julington Creek, Florida, and now I guess it's back to St. I think now they just call it St. John's, Florida. But what really happened there was that's the whole Yankee movement, right? So my parents were like from Florida, born and raised in Florida, and they bought a house outside of St. Augustine where there wasn't anything out there. It was dirt roads. And that was it, dude. There was nothing out there. It was so the rich people live on the beach in Florida. Right. Then there's the river. On the other side of the river are where the peasants live. Between the river and the ocean is where the middle class live.
Right. So for those of you who are local to the area, the Matanzas.
Yes.
Right.
That would be like, so you would have the ocean, right? And then that's where all the rich people live. Then you have the middle class people between the ocean. Then you have the St. John's River. Anybody on the other side of the St. John's River, those are peasants. Okay, that's how it's separated. Middle class live between the river and the ocean. And we were probably 2 miles from the river and probably as the crow flies, 10 miles from the beach.
So what?
But you can't, obviously it's a little bit further because of roads and stuff.
So what were you then? Were you
middle class?
Peasants? Peasants.
Yeah,
middle class.
Yeah, we definitely weren't peasants, but we were middle class.
Okay.
The peasants lived in Mill Creek. Middleburg.
Okay.
That's Orange Park. Your Orange Park peasants.
Oh my God, yeah. So Jacksonville, St. Augustine, it's all so very mashed up together, even though they're two separate counties and two very distinct areas for sure, right? And I was just thinking when you said Julian Creek, it just came to mind because I have a family that just lives just outside that Jack's area, but in St. John's.
Yeah.
And we've been to the Julian Creek fish.
The fish camp.
Yes.
Oh, with all the fried fish foods and everything?
Right on the water.
Man, it's I used to know, I grew up right there. Swimming right where you were at. I was on a boat every day of my life going through there. We used to jump off the St. John's Bridge into the St. John's River right there. But yeah, that's where I grew up, right there. Right. That was we called it I don't know, some people called it the Cove because it was Fruit Cove.
Right, yep, right.
We called it the Cove, but what happened with the Cove was people found out about it. I used to ride my dirt bike from my house to the food line, which was probably 6 miles away. at like 13 years old on the main road, and not a cop would give two shits. You could ride your bicycle, never say anything. You know, we used to carry our fishing poles on our bicycles, go up to the creek, go fishing, whatever. You wouldn't even see any cars. It didn't matter. Now you can't. I mean, now it's just, I mean, everybody's from Michigan or Buffalo. And but they really want to adopt that Florida culture. So you hear a lot of, can I get a hot dog, y'all? Like they you know, they're Yankees, so they say hot dog. But then they try to be Floridian, they say y'all. So it sounds like, you want a hot dog, y'all? And it's the most heinous thing you've ever heard. Matched with their socks and sandals. It's too much.
Yeah, that's not cool.
But anyway, because we were so close to Daytona Beach, and then I moved here to Clayton, I wanted to form my own beach here. So we made a tiki hut, well, not a tiki hut, but like more of a Caribbean-esque bar scene. And we call it Claytona Beach. Yeah. People say tiki, but it's not. That wasn't my goal. My goal was more like Jamaican.
And we talked a little bit about, you know, the tiki, right? Yeah, there's a whole thing, the tiki culture. But yeah, no, it's definitely, we just actually visited. So we went over here before we started taping the podcast there, got it checked it out. We did a little tour. So we'll post that. Check out all the video that we'll post in there. Very cool. So I want to talk about, obviously, the rum journey, right? Obviously, this is a rum podcast, and that is, you know, your establishment there. It's more than just a distillery here in town. It's a place which you've built a very community-esque place, right? Yeah. There's other things, you know. I think
it's just kind of like what happens with beverage in general. It's like if you build a brewery, like people are just going to come and hang out, and then you build a distillery, and people are going to come out, but. You know, for us, like, we're the first legal distillery in Clayton, North Carolina, but Clayton, North Carolina is known as the moonshine capital, like, of the United States. Richard Petty Sr. started driving moonshine here in Clayton for Percy Flowers. Big history. There's it's not a great book. I mean, it's a fucking book, but it's called Forgotten Flowers.
Okay.
Like, it's all right. I mean, it's a great book because it's from the town I live in right now. But I would say it's like one of the greats. It's not like To Kill a Mockingbird.
Wait. Did the Chamber of Commerce of Clayton County actually pay for you to say that, right?
Actually, so Percy Flowers' daughter still lives. She's still alive. She's probably 110 now.
Oh, wow.
I'm kidding. She's like 90-something probably. Yeah, I don't know. She's old as shit. But they used to have her book in the library, I guess. This is a rumor. Now, I don't know if this is true. There's a lot of rumors. It's a small town. A lot of rumors in this town. But the rumor has that she was going to, like, defund the library if they didn't take the book out of the library. And she was, like, headhunting people because she didn't want anything negative about her dad. But I say embrace it, man. I mean, those are, like, that makes your dad a legend, man. Legends never die.
Yeah. Look, as I say, old press, good press is any press, unless you're maybe some really bad stuff going on there, and you know, which I'm not going to get into. But if you want to learn more, you know, definitely there's other podcasts to get into. So.
Yeah, it's a cool. Yeah, it's got a lot of cool flavors here. Like the moonshine history is so rich here. Like if you go into the general store, we're in Clayton, man. Like we still have general stores, but there's like a still in the general store. There's a still in the surveyor's office. Like there's like 3 stills in that mother. There's everywhere you go. They use them as a decor because the moonshine history is so rich right here, man.
You're right. I mean, you definitely have to look. There's some things that maybe, you know, and there's a Daytona area has a lot of rum running history with Bill McCoy, right? Mm-hmm. And the during the Prohibition. So it's just really crazy that, you know, there was a lot of emphasis, and this is why it's great. You know, we're taping this podcast for August, which is National Rum Month. National Rum Day is the 16th. My birthday is the 1st of the month, so we're kicking off.
So it's a rum month? Like this a whole month?
Yes.
I don't like
No,
it. No,
we're taping. No, we're taping. We're not leaving.
No, but
here.
It's like a
this is next
why don't they have a rum
day
here. And just be done with it? Why is it got to be a rum month?
Oh, come on. You talked about on the.
I do. I'm not for this new thing where we're doing months. Like, you can have like 1 month. Like, we'll do Black History Month, right? Because that was like years of tyranny and like really bad stuff. So I give you a Black History Month. Everything else just gets a day. Like, you don't want a St. Patrick's Month because you'd just be a degenerate. You'd be like, your liver would fail. You don't want a Cinco de Month, because then you would just be fat as shit, and you would be.
You would if you were selling, if your distillery was tequila, right?
Yeah, I guess. It's like you have a Cinco de Mayo because that's like the one day you go full Mexican, right? Drink the Mexican beer. We'd be Mexican for the day. Great. St. Patrick's Day, Go full St. Patrick, go full Irish, we're all Irish, we drink
Yep.
for the day.
Yep.
Let's go. I don't need a rum month to where I'm a pirate for the whole month because then, it's just kind of weird and it's not healthy. Gay Pride month, again, I'll go full gay for a day. I don't want to do it for a whole month. Then it's just a kink fest after that.
So Claytona Beach.
Right? A rum month. Who needs a rum month? I'm all into like celebrating rum for the day. I don't want my kids to like have a whole month of like, today's daiquiri of the day is the zombie. Today we're going to talk about 3 dots and a dash. Maybe that does sound kind of cool, actually. Now that I put that into words. Okay.
Yeah, actually, yeah, there you go. Sometimes you're
But I think there should be a National Rum Day.
Okay,
just
there
go
is. Which there is, yes.
For the whole day.
16th.
The 16th of August.
Yes. And there's somebody who's in this room with us whose birthday's that day.
Oh, happy birthday, Tony or Sony. Is that how you say your last name? I knew it. Everybody calls you Ursone. I'm like, no, dude, it's Tony Ursoni. You got to rhyme it. Yeah. It's like Italian, right? Tony Bologna Ursoni. Oh, I didn't even go that far.
All right, yes.
Great, dude. He's a big rum guy. He probably knows more about rum than I do, to be honest.
So yeah, so you're getting a little sneak peek of somebody we're going to be talking to next here. So, fellow North Carolinian.
I'm the warm up. He's the major. He's the headliner. I'm just the opening act.
He's the fluffer.
I'm the bullshit opening act. Everybody's just like, all right, cool. They like clap you off the stage. Like they're more clapping that you're done. Like bring the real guy on.
All right, so let's back up here. We jump balls deep right into this Claytona Beach thing. All right, so where exactly? Describe to folks that don't know where Clayton is here in North Carolina.
All right, if you find Raleigh on your map, which is the capital of North Carolina, it's a cool city. And then you find Wilmington on the same map, which is going to be straight east.
Okay.
And you just go right in the middle.
Okay.
Maybe not in the middle. Maybe like a quarter of the way you'll find. I mean, you're probably not going to find Clayton on the map. Let me be real with you. If you find Goldsboro, that's where the Air Force Base is. We're like between Goldsboro and Raleigh, if you can find that on the map.
Go.
We're probably, an hour from Eastern Carolina University, ECU, which I don't, probably nobody knows where that's at either.
So just outside of Raleigh.
Outside of Raleigh, like 18 minutes from Raleigh. That was easier.
There you go.
That rum's really kicking in.
Yeah. So this distillery here in Clayton, Instill Distilling, how did this company start, and why, and what's the history here? Because again, we talk a lot to mostly American-made distillers or rum companies, which for the most part, most people think of the Caribbean for and foremost. Yeah. That's it. And a lot of the American distillers don't get a whole lot of love because of recognition that they're making, and we talked earlier, they're making rum this place here in the U.S., and it can be really made anywhere. But yeah, so why rum, and what got you into it?
Well, I mean, rum is just, I started out this whole journey with wine. Like I'm a big wine guy. Like in 05, 06, I really started dabbling into wine. By 07 or 08, I was going to a lot of wine tastings and classes. By 2010, I was like balls deep in wine, just in love with it, wanted to get out of the military and be a wine salesman. Problem with that was I was a shit salesman. And you can't really sell wine if you can't sell anything else. And, I didn't have any experience. So that didn't last very long, and it wasn't a really good fit. So I did the only other thing a C student without a college education could do, and that's become a cop. But while I was a cop, kind of got in a pretty critical incident, and I got in a fight with a murder suspect, ended up in a wheelchair for a while. And while I was down, instead of just laying around in the bed all day, I decided to enroll myself in the Gallo Wine Academy online. And there was a certified specialist of wine exam put on by the Society of Wine Educators. It's had like a 70% fail rate. And I just thought like, hey, that's a good challenge. So I studied for like 2 years to take this test. And I took it and I passed, still maintaining that C proficiency. So I got like a 77.
C is for me.
And then I did the sommelier thing and started working my way through the quartermaster sommelier program. And that's when they got into spirits, right? So because the CSW was just all wine. The sommelier was beer, wine, spirits, and cigars. And it's kind of funny how it happened, but obviously rum was part of the studies, right? You're going through vodka, brandy, tequila, mezcal, all the things, Calvados, whatever. And rum was like, rum and tequila was a pretty big chapter. And I think when you're not, when you're going through things like vodka is, fairly short. Brandy was pretty long. But then you get to rum, and now that I look back at it, rum, tequila, mezcal, I think we're all like in the same chapter. It might be why it was longer. But like to me, it was like, I spent a lot of time on rum because it's a big chapter. And when you're taking a test, the bigger the chapter, the more questions.
You figure right. Yep.
So there was a lot of interesting history. And so I like the history of stuff. And I really, because I'm from Florida, right? And we were all into pirate culture and, all the rum runners and all the things. I really got into the history of that. Well, then, like, fast forward, I don't know, maybe 9 or 10 months, I was on an airplane flying somewhere. I can't even remember. But the In-Flight magazine, and this was like 2017 probably. And the In-Flight magazine was about woke culture. And this was like a new term in 2017.
Right.
And nobody was talking about woke back then. And the whole thing was about rum and how rum is like super offensive to Hawaiians. And I was reading the article and I was kind of like, what like... Okay, I get it. They're calling it a tiki drinks and tiki things. But at the end of the day, like, shouldn't the black people be offended by that? Because, like, they're the ones that made it. It's the African slaves that were shipped to the Caribbean by the French who made the rum. And now we're giving, like, all credit and all glory to Hawaiians. We've got all these tiki drinks. We don't have any slave drinks. I'd rather have a fucking slave drink. Like, like something remembering, like, I don't know, a slave than a tiki god.
Right.
If you can catch that, if you're too woke and that offends you, I'm sorry. But, like... You understand? It's like if my culture, like, I don't know, if I was a Floridian, I'm here in North Carolina. If somebody was to name a Floridian drink here, I'd be like, hell yeah, that's my haunts. Like, I'm from Florida.
There's a connection.
Like, I'm, that's our barbecue. That's cool,
Right.
But, like, you have a slave-made liquor
right.
that everybody relates to Hawaiian culture, and that's just not how that should work, really. So I thought the magazine had it wrong. I was like, well, wait a minute. I think, like, Africans, like, true, people that have African pride or pride in black culture should be the ones that are pissed because they're the ones that started it all. They started rum. Yeah. And, we shouldn't be drinking out of tiki cups. We should be drinking out of Jamaican cups. I don't know.
Right.
Whatever they drink out of in the islands, coconuts.
The Barbados, the cradle of, the cradle of rum, right, is what's known as. And there is another company that has a name that is tied to, I think somebody was a slave that was during that trade part. We can talk afterwards, but that's not the focus of this episode.
I mean, they should though. But I mean, like, if you really want to talk about rum culture, like all the
and somebody got in trouble
to...
though. There was like an actor who was getting into a rum brand, and they got kind of a little pushback about not recognizing,
maybe Plantation.
There's something,
because I know Plantation was going through like,
but
then I think I read some kind of like weird history about Plantation, how like the slaves, like, I don't want to misspeak, but I think they took over,
right,
and kept making rum, and they called it Plantation themselves, like they're the ones that named it.
Yeah, I mean, most people that are listening to the podcast, and those who aren't are learning or hearing, and not as familiar is.
I should know those stories though.
Yeah, but again, right? How rum was started, right? It was the excess, the waste of processing sugar.
Yeah, but I mean, they had been making rum in Africa, and it was the slaves that were like, "Hey, we're the ones that can do it." I mean, this was 100% an African culture product.
Yeah.
So if you want to pay any homage,
I get what you
to anybody, you should pay your homage to Africans or Caribbeans. That's why I don't say my bar is a tiki bar. I say it's a Caribbean bar because. Really, that's
more
where
representative.
It represents more where rum came from,
right?
Right. Whereas, I don't know, but I just thought, like, I thought it was very funny, this magazine article in 2017 where I was like, man, I know the history of rum, and this woman is making the entire history of rum all the way back to Hawaiians and why Hawaiians should be offended. And I'm like, if we should be writing if rum offends somebody, it should be offending the African culture, because it should, like, all rum should pay homage to that.
Yeah.
Not pirates, not, I don't know, whatever else rum pays homage to, but, it's a lot of Admiral Nelson, Captain Morgan. Like, it should be called, like...
The grog.
Yeah,
all the British Navy.
Whatever, like, African Tongo rum or something, like Tongo Caribbean rum or something,
Afrohead, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Afrohead rum, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that bottle, too.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
We've had Toby. Toby Tyler's been on, so he was the blender involved in that. So, but yeah, anyway, I get what you're saying. There's a lot of history and understanding where actually things came from, and your point there is.
Well, that's where I got my passion from. Yeah. Like, I read that magazine,
and it fired you up,
and I was like pissed off about it.
Right.
And I knew I liked rum, and I knew I liked the rum history and culture anyway. And then, rum was already in my brain, but then I started teaching classes, wine classes, and I met a lawyer. And we started drinking wine together, and then we were actually going to start making grappa. We wanted to make liquor, and I wanted to stay with my winery, so we were going to make grappa. And then when I looked into like how profitable grappa was, I was like, well, that's not going to happen. You're not going to make any money off of grappa, though it would be a cool project, and I still want to do it. It's still like a lifetime goal for me. But rum was, when we were talking about, it, I was like the bug of opening up my own distillery was like in my ear, because I knew I wanted to be a doer at that point. Talking to this lawyer and having our wine nights together. And I was a cop at the time, so. Cop and a lawyer is like a weird mix, but the only time a cop and a lawyer can get along is when we're drinking together.
Hey, right.
So he kind of put the idea in my brain to start a distillery, and again, it was starting off with grappa, but then when I found out it wasn't profitable, I was like, what are we going to do? And I was like, going through all the things, and whiskey, it's like, I'm not passionate about it. I drink whiskey, I drink bourbon, and I drink everything. I'm not passionate about it. I don't like telling the story about it, and rum I do, but I also didn't want to just make rum to make rum.
Right.
And that's why we use dehydrated cane juice. We try to adopt the Jamaican funk. We grow the funk inside in the house to mix with our fermentations to try to keep it more like how it would have been done in the 1700s
out in the
Caribbean.
out in the jungle, out in the openness, and out in the field, and
So I attribute it all to that one article, because I think if I never would have read that article, I probably wouldn't have been as passionate about rum as I was, because when I read that article, I knew enough that I thought it was silly that the whole thing was about Hawaiians and made no references to true African culture, and that's what pissed me off. And if I was a black person, I'd be pissed off, because I'd be like, what the fuck? We're going to talk about the Hawaiians' feelings when my ancestors made this shit, and you didn't even mention that in this article. So I think that was like, that got me on the ball of talking about rum more, which is great. I guess that's what an article is for. Yeah. Because I still remember to say. Yeah. It's a very strange article to put in Flight Magazine, though.
Well, it's a lot better than trying to read the Sky Mall.
I love Sky Mall. I want all of it. If I win the lottery, that's what I'm doing. I'm just going to go...
Hey, the lottery is, today we're taping, it is actually, it's at over $1 billion.
Yeah. It's like nobody won on Tuesday night or whatever it was.
So let's make sure you buy your tickets. Okay?
One reason I know this is because we had poker night last night at the distillery, and they're all a bunch of degenerate gamblers. I'm kidding. It's free. It's free poker. There's no gambling. They're all great people.
But they're still degenerates.
But they all play the lottery, so they're all talking about it.
So, all right. So you're here with your lawyer friend. You guys have got the fire lit here to go and start making rum, or the idea there, right? Mm-hmm. So you're currently, as you said, you're living in the Raleigh area. So
I was living in Clayton, but I was a Raleigh cop.
Okay.
And they opened up a brewery here, and the brewery is doing really good. And there was an old cotton mill, and it was on the backside of the brewery, and it was just a shithole. Kind of made like a deal, a drug deal with the brewery. It was like, look, this place is like, you're not gonna. It's gonna be a while before you guys put any money into fixing the back half of this building up. But like, what if we come in, you give us a deal, give me a couple of years to clean it up and fix it up, and then start renting it for me once I get it to where it's at. And so they give us a pretty solid deal for upfit, and we end up having to drop electricity, and then. Of course, you don't know this at the time, but the town's got to get involved, and it's a little more money than they think it's going to be. But it was me, a lawyer, and another military guy, just the three of us. Very little money, though. Very little money. Like no investors, no credit cards, no major loans. No, I don't know that anybody's built a distillery on as little money as we did. I would be willing to bet that nobody's done it.
Yeah, because that's a huge barrier to entry.
Maybe Raleigh Rum. Maybe Raleigh Rum's got less money in theirs. That's my only guess. Other than that, I don't know anybody else that's made a.
So what's this time frame now that distillery's starting to open up?
So it took me 2 years to bang nails and make a parking lot, and we had to rip out the old bathroom in there. It was disgusting, and
take down some trees.
Everything was gross. There was like lead paint. It was just. Everything. The building was built in 1903. Wait, it opened in 1903.
Oh, wow. And
the building is 75,000 square feet. Now, my space is only 5,500, but the building itself is 75,000 square feet. It's a whole cotton mill. A lot of history to it. So it was a lot of work. And then, we got the thing open. And, of course, in North Carolina, liquor laws were absolutely ridiculous when we started. We could only sell 1 bottle per person per year. And we could only do a 1/4 ounce pour. And you could only do like 3/4 ounce pours. So if you had 5 products, you get to pick 3. But then shortly after, so we didn't build the bar to have a bar. We built the distillery to just be a manufacturing facility. Then they changed the law and said you can have a cocktail bar, but you can only serve alcohol that you make.
Okay.
We were like, wow, that's crazy. But now we have to build a bar.
Right.
Now we have to, and there's no AC. And I mean, it was just, it is what it is. The whole thing was, though, is that we came in at cheap because we wanted to experiment with rum. And we wanted to try to make rum in America as close as we could make rum in the Caribbean. And we're the first distillers in the United States to use dehydrated cane juice. Nobody else had ever done it. So there was a lot of we never came out of the gate to be a profitable company. We came in to just kind of
it's a little risky.
Manage
I guess.
its own.
Be a little bit, but it being that you're doing something that nobody else is doing, which is very remarkable to take that chance. But other than
it sounds remarkable when you actually see it. You're like,
looking back, yes,
and
looking
barrels. It's
looking
it
back.
sounds a lot more awesome than it really is. But it's really just like you order, But finding dehydrated cane juice, that was a process that we accidentally found by blogging about sugar. And then, then you have to get it over here and it's coming from India and
So why India?
Because they're the ones that make the product. They're the ones that came up with that whole system.
It can't be made here in the U.S.?
I guess it could. It couldn't be made this far north. It'd have to be done in Florida. But what they do is they take cane juice and they break it all apart, right? They break the sugar cane apart. It comes out in a yellowy kind of a syrup. And instead of putting it in a centrifuge and spinning it to get the white crystals and the brown crystals and the molasses out, they don't do any of that. They boil that liquidy yellow substance over in a cast iron cauldron, and then they dehydrate it, and it comes into a big giant brick, into 14-pound bricks, which then when you melt down become non-centrifugal sugar again. So you got all the stuff. You got the molasses, the brown sugar, the white sugar. Everything is in it. It's never been separated. So it's pure raw cane. Matter of fact, the federal TTB said we could call it rum agricole if we wanted. I wouldn't do that because I don't, I'm more of a purist than that.
Right,
I mean, I'm a reasonableist. How about that?
Right,
Not a purist, but I'm a reasonableist. I don't think that's reasonable. I don't think that's fair to history, and I wouldn't want to put myself up there with all the greats that legit grow their own sugar cane. There's just a lot of people doing that really good.
Yeah.
I don't want to you remember when wine, when they used to take the jug wine and they called it Burgundy because everybody was familiar with Burgundy wine, but that's not Burgundy wine. That's just some jug bullshit that America is we don't have wine laws. We're just going to call it Burgundy.
Whatever.
It is not Burgundy, which is $1,200, $200 and plus
legit, right.
Burgundy wine. And I felt if I called mine rum agricole, I'd be doing the same kind of dick move, and I didn't want to be that guy. Yeah,
there's a lot of scrutiny, and I think that's something where there's a lot. Again, the rum world. There's almost a Wild West kind of thing, right? There's so much different things. There's not Wild West in a bad way, but it's not like Scotch where it's very defined. It's not like Kentucky bourbon. You know exactly there is, and there's the rules or whatever. But rum
rum was though. I wish they would denominize it.
Yeah, and we were talking a little bit earlier that there was an announcement.
Have denominations of it.
Yeah, there was a note or announcement or whatever they call it released that there was a couple distilleries in Barbados that was going to pursue the what was it, Tony?
Tier system.
Yeah, geographical indication.
Yeah, geographical.
The Barbadian rum and so forth, right? And kind of rather get away from colored or white, clear, whatever, but more of a so.
I mean, it would be really hard to do, I guess, because people are doing pineapple rums, banana rums, and all the other.
But where's things, but Haitian rum is different than Jamaican rum,
right?
But
and that kind of thing is I think you should go back to what is the base of the rum made from, and then if it's North Carolina rum, then you have to put North Carolina rum on. I mean, I guess it would be really hard because I guess what would we fall in because we're using dehydrated cane juice from India, and everybody else is using molasses, essentially from Florida. So I guess it would be hard to, maybe you just denominationalize it from America. Well, I mean, I guess it already is because it has to be sugar. It would be a difficult, but maybe the Martinique have their own, Haiti have their own, Jamaica have their own. Rum agricole's already.
Yeah. Hey, well, look, right. Again, going back to why is the U.S. stealing appropriate, rums from other countries? And again, I don't mean appropriate in a bad way, but because we're a melting pot country, you do have different styles that's been applied. Maybe I don't
Rum
know.
built this country, so
Yes.
they
Right.
funded the entire program.
Right.
I mean, because people didn't stop drinking rum until 1830 here, and that's because
Right.
we taxed it 300% because we were tired of giving all that fucking money to the French and the French-owned islands. So, literally, the colonists survived on rum. Rum built this country, so I mean, rum is very American. Even though a lot of it wasn't made in America, but I mean, it's very much part of our culture.
I feel, and this is a really interesting geographic tie here to where we're at, in this state today. Is I feel very much the same way about tobacco. If it wasn't for tobacco, the settlers wouldn't have been cutting it either because they had a hard time, and that was a crop that.
And you're in the Tar Heel state, which is where all the tobacco is. That's why they call it Tar Heel.
I was actually disappointed in the airport. I wasn't handed a pack of cigarettes, but they don't do that no more. So.
No, it's actually like weird because like Winston-Salem cigarettes, there's a whole town here called Winston-Salem, Yeah. And they used to have all these beautiful art pieces of, tobacco companies, cigarette companies painted on the side of these brick buildings that have been there for 50, 60 years, and I guess now they're like overpainting them because I don't know. I mean, people are so soft, dude. Nothing I've ever driven by, except when I was driving by in St. Pete for Pride Month. They had two gay dudes naked hugging each other on the side of a building. I'm fine with two gay dudes on the side of a building, but when they're naked like that, you remember when you drive down 95 and they had all the strippers?
Yep.
Like, I had a problem with that because, if you're taking your trip down to Disney World and you got to pass a stripper billboard every 5 minutes, and you got to explain to your kids, like, no kid should be like, why is that girl half naked and their star over her nipples? No kid should be like, why are there two naked dudes holding each other naked with cowboy hats on the side of that building? Like, it's just inappropriate.
There's a lot of
That's the only time though. That's the only time I've been like, it's the stripper thing and the nudity thing. Like, because it protects children.
Yeah, I get it. Because I mean, look, but at the same
Other than
time,
that, I've never cared
if
about
if
anything
there
else.
is there's a
And
fine
guess what?
line.
I still didn't say anything. I still didn't make like a formal complaint because I don't really give that much of a shit. I would just be like, that sucks. But these people that just go around and are like, oh, tobacco painted on the side of a building. It's ridiculous. Just leave it. It's part of the history. It's part of the culture.
Again,
Let it go.
it's the difficult conversations, right?
Yeah.
That people are
Critical thinking's tough.
So
it's hard.
Yeah. So all right. So you've started up this business here in Clayton. You've up and running, and you've got the building there, and now you're making products from your dehydrated sugarcane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Right,
and
so-
we mix a little bit of molasses in there to keep it on par with North Carolina, and grow our own yeast in house, do other things, and like we're very small. I mean, we're down in Florida now, which is like super funny. But it was always supposed to be just kind of like a in-house kind of classic thing. It wasn't really, again, it goes back to things like I'm a terrible salesman. I can't sell anything. I like to just give everything away too. But and I'm not a businessman either. So I don't think, aside from just making rum and figuring out how to get rum made, that's where my expertise stops. Mm-hmm. The bottling, the labeling, the marketing, all those things. That's not where my wheelhouse is. My wheelhouse is like making product, tasting product, and that's pretty much it. Which is not good because I do all the things at the distillery. So
right, but that's as a craft distiller.
Yeah.
Right. You own a company. You're doing a lot of that work yourself, right? And there's how many people do you have employed?
4.
Okay, so I mean that's about par of most most of the folks I talk to that are craft and distillers and so forth. So what products do you have here? So if folks don't know,
spiced rum. Well, one is just our white rum, right, which is super awesome. It tastes like fresh cut grass and dried apricot.
Okay,
it's got a very grassy, light bodied. If you put a squeeze of lime on the rocks, it's super killer. The layman, the peasant, will say it tastes like tequila, which is funny because it's the same family, right?
Right.
But
yep.
it's got a lot of flavor to it. And then we have our Ava aged rum, which is there's a laboratory right there. It's from NC State students where we take our white rum, we take it to their lab, and we put it in a hyperbaric chamber type deal, and it like pressurizes, depressurizes, heats, and cools over the course of 5 days. and it extracts all the oak out of the staves. So we use 90% American oak, 10% French oak on that. Serve it at 86 proof, and a lot of people will again argue that it's whiskey. They'll be like, "This is rum, this is whiskey." I'm like, "No, it's rum." They're like, "Oh, it tastes a lot like whiskey." I'm like, "No, it tastes like rum, and rum came before whiskey. So if anything, whiskey tastes like the rum, and that pisses them off."
Yes, you're right. Yeah,
They're like, "No."
I know whiskey. I know all that. Yeah.
I had a guy yesterday. He said, "Do you have any bourbon?" I said, "No." He said, "Do you have Bud Light?" I said, "No." And I said, "But we have a lot of really great rum cocktails. I can even make you an old fashioned." He's like, "No, I'm good. I'll just have water." So he'll drink bourbon, he'll drink Bud Light, but he won't drink rum. It's such a snobbery, though. You know what I mean? It's like, if I would have told him it was bourbon, he would have never have known.
But see, what's funny is I've talked a lot about this, and especially about those, and getting the word out there is, look, just because rum is made from sugar cane, it is not terrible for diabetics, right? There is no sugar.
It can't be any worse than bourbon,
right?
Or vodka.
Yeah, it's distilled. There's no more. It's all distilled off. It's gone now, unless somebody's putting something a little bit on the back end and not telling you and so forth. Now, and I
don't do that. So
somebody did tell me, there was a way to tell if a product is got anything
if it kills a diabetic.
Yeah. That is one way. That is definitely the one way. Where's the insulin shot there? But I guess you pour it in your hand, and if your hands are sticky, then I guess that's a way that you could tell if it's got sugar in it. So I don't know. So,
I try it. I feel like my bars stay. Well, because we use a lot of simple syrups in our cocktails. Okay.
So I guess if you pour straight from out of the bottle, like I said,
we use our rum for hand sanitizer.
Oh, there you go. Right. So speaking of that, did you get into the hand sanitizer thing?
We did, but we didn't sell any of it.
Okay, just
we
kind of
gave
gave
it all away to first responders, and we did sell a couple of gallons to a pharmaceutical company, but they were making insulin, and they couldn't come to work unless part of their protocol was that they had to have some. But I sold like the exact minimum. Like I added up how many employees they have by the average usage because I didn't want to get them any more or less. Again, not a good salesman, because I know the distillery up the road, a couple counties over, did like well over 6 figures in 3 months.
Oh wow!
Selling hand sanitizer that they didn't even make; they just bottled from big containers. Which look, I'm not knocking them. Fucking do it. I just, again, that's like where my brain stops. Like, when there's something there's out there, there's a way to make money. My brain's like, no, it's not a good idea. That makes money.
But is that
do something that costs money?
But again, is that I don't want to call it a fault, Eric, but
it's
your character. It's because because you're like you said, military, police. You're a service. To help, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
just like being I've always like envied though. Like there are dudes that I'm around that they make money all day long. But good buddy of mine, he passed away not too long ago, but his name was Jamal. That dude could hustle money from anybody doing like good work, like doing good things. But he'd be like, "Oh man, let me take some pictures for you. I can cut you at this price, blah blah blah." Where I'm the kind of guy, it's like if I've got a camera and you're sitting in front of me, I wouldn't even think to be like, "Hey man, like let's work out a deal and I'll take some pictures for you." I'd be like, "Hey, dude, I could come out with my camera and take some badass pictures for you."
Yeah, and I know, right? Yeah,
and I just would make money from it.
Yeah. I know. Sometimes, I suffer from that too. Is not thinking the gear.
It's like when people really get into my tour, I feel bad selling them rum. I'm like, oh my god, you just listen to me talking my tour and ask me like 16 questions. I feel bad. Like you should just take a bottle of rum with you.
So that law changed, and it's very similar also in Florida, where we had until about I think it was last summer. Governor DeSantis had signed some, support for distillers. Yeah, where they were only allowed to, like you said, to sell one bottle or some type of limitation. And like, who's really keeping track of that? Let's be honest, right?
North Carolina was really keeping track. You had to present a driver's license, and we had to scan it with a gun.
So right, because North Carolina's a control state, right? So that's thank God I live in Florida, right? Yep. But also part of that deal was, I know the distributors weren't happy because now they actually could start selling more at their own, which makes sense. You make a product, and you pretty much. And we went about a month ago. We went up to Richland, or I went up to Richland.
Oh, jealous! It's my favorite.
And I had talked with Eric, and he said the same thing. He had like Georgia legislatures had come down, and they said, "I can't sell this product," but across the street in the store, literally across the street.
Yeah.
He says, they're selling my rum. So the rum gets sent from Richland up to Atlanta.
Yep.
Then
and then
back.
Atlanta all the way back to there. It's
So
the
it's
same
like-
way the Outer Banks was for a hot minute.
Yeah, so it's like,
Which will
that
be
doesn't
tomorrow.
make sense. Doesn't make sense at all. But yeah, so
Well, government. Anytime the government
Yeah.
gets their
Yeah.
skinners in it,
yeah, it's almost, again, we'll give you,
it's garbage.
we'll repeal prohibition, but we're going to really latch into all this now, right? If you
Yeah.
really want the booze.
We still want to keep our money.
But what one was cool thing was, it also was in that new bill was also that, I can't remember exactly what year it is, 2025 maybe, that a good portion of the spirits have to be sourced from Florida products. You know, whether it's
okay.
sugar
That's cool.
or whether it's something. So it's like, all right, again, trying to keep it in Florida, you know, again, anyway, so other than
Florida's just
yeah.
killing it right now too with all their decision making. Like they're doing better than most people, I think.
It's we are
Like you always hear people talking about like Florida's doing this or Florida's doing that, and it's always like, makes sense.
Florida is I think we are the 11th largest economy in the world.
Whoa.
Okay.
I believe it though. I mean, Florida
Right.
crushes
Right.
all the time, which is like shit land too. You know, like when you think about it, like just swamp, marsh, spiders, snakes.
Hey, wait,
alligators.
and we
Casey
have, and we.
Anthony.
Oh, by the way,
Rest in peace.
she did say hi.
She's alive.
She did say hi. She lives in South Florida.
I know she lives in state Florida. She's dating or was dating. I don't know if she still is, but one of the dudes that from the O.J. Simpson case, the PI from the O.J. Simpson case or something like that. Whoever dates her is a pretty sick soul, though. You know what I mean? Like, look, I get it. Like, I don't kink shame, but like, like if a dude's like my girlfriend's Casey Anthony, like that dude. You know that dude's down to party, like in a sick way. In a very sick way, like probably unhealthy way. Probably watches like cartoon porns. Probably.
We don't,
Something. He's got something.
Allegedly.
He does something. Like nobody just,
alleged.
no normal like missionary position, God-fearing man beds down with old Casey Anthony.
You know, I don't think we've had enough rum to be already going off the rails here.
She is kind of cute though.
Yeah. So
I'll give her that. She's
was
cute.
Yeah, that was a interesting story. But yes, we have Florida Man. Sorry,
You have everything in Florida.
Yes, we have Florida Man.
You
yes.
got the Florida Rum Society, which is always a fun,
Yep.
like a fun thing to be a part of. It's a little bit intimidating because it's like, I don't know, it's hard to be a part of the Florida Rum Society. Like if you say one wrong thing, everybody lights you up in the chats. But it's still fun. I mean, I don't engage in the chats because I'm too afraid to fuck up. It's like when you have like a really good poker group and somebody comes in and like, doesn't put their chips in or doesn't say call or doesn't like do the things that somebody else gets yelled at. I'm a spectator in the Florida Rum Society. I watch from a distance, but I like everything that they put out.
Yeah.
No, they don't do that in North Carolina.
We should start one up? There you go.
No, I wouldn't.
Was it?
Yeah, it's probably like 25 people in Charlotte.
So, well, yeah, join one of the virtual happy hours and just join. I mean, I don't talk a whole lot. I just, again, I'm just
Yeah.
just kind of listening, taking it in, and
want some of the
join.
merch.
And all that.
Yeah, that's some good rum stuff.
Yeah. So you've got your 3 products there, and I think that's pretty unique. The aging process, right? I mean, nobody's doing that, right?
I mean, what? No, there's a shit ton of people are doing it. They just don't tell you they're doing it. They'll put like age no less than 1 week in American oak barrels or something like that, which is very non-transparent. We named our rum Ava rum instead of amber rum because the TTB wanted us to actually call it amber rum, and I had a problem with that because going back to that denominizing, I don't know what the right word is there, but in the wine world, I think they call it denominalization or something like that. But anyway, you would say like, okay, if it's called amber rum, then it has to be in an oak barrel for at least X, and it has to be, you don't have to put like what kind of oak barrel, but like I think saying no less than 1 week, I don't know, what does that mean? Like did you pour it in and then pour it right back out like a cocktail shaker type deal? I don't get it. So we actually didn't want to call ours amber rum, and they were like, well, what are you going to call it? And I said, well, we'll just label it as Ava because that's the name of the laboratory.
Right.
By the way, Ava Gardner is also from Clayton, North Carolina.
Interesting.
And her museum is here. What? Amber didn't even make the rum. Yeah, who's Amber? She didn't even make the rum. Am I going to call it amber rum?
Amber, never heard of her.
That girl I hooked up with in 7th grade, she didn't make this rum. That's the only girl I know from Amber, 7th grade. Sorry.
So
Sorry,
Amber
Hitchcock.
Ava. So it's
Yep.
not. So I was pronouncing Avia. I was making it more fancier than it was.
Yeah.
Avia.
No, this is Clayton, brother. No, but the Ava Gardner Museum, which is the only museum we have in town. So if you want to go see a real nice museum, come see the Ava Gardner Museum. It's actually really cool. The dress she wore when she was married to Sinatra is in their museum.
Okay.
Bunch of shoes and shit.
Okay.
If you're into Ava Gardner,
Yeah,
there's a cool theater there too.
But you were there. But there was something also interesting, not so much here in Clayton, about something back in the 40s.
Well, this is a very weird place. So Clayton, it's like a weird. Well, they call this area the Triangle, which I don't know. You can't really consider Clayton part of the Triangle, but this whole surrounding area is very weird. There's a lot of Civil War history. There's battlefields all over the place. There's Civil War memorials all over the place.
Right.
Matter of fact, it's really funny is that our pool, the Clayton community pool, is you have to go through this neighborhood and then you go on this dirt road, and in the middle of the neighborhood, like a very nice neighborhood, is a Civil War memorial that has like this old decrepit fence that's falling in, and you can't even read the memorial. It looks like a small Washington monument. It's just like a little. I have no idea whose fucking memorial it is.
Right.
But some asshole died there, and they put a memorial there, and it's like right in the middle of this beautiful neighborhood. So, matter of fact, tonight I'll probably drive you, just show you. It's a very wild. It's a very weird thing. But we're like we had like the largest garage sale in the world here, like in Selma. It's like I don't know. I mean, I don't want to misspeak, but I want to say it's like 300 miles of garage sales.
No, misspeak. So people like correct us, right? And then
largest
get haters too, right?
Garage sale.
So
it's all just fun talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's let's see here, largest garage sale, North Carolina. But anyway, also not.
And
so
if it's
the
on,
Moonshine Capital.
if it's on Wikipedia, then you know it's true.
So it's called the 301 Endless. I said 300 miles. 301 Endless Yard Sale. And you travel the whole, it goes from Weldon to Rocky Mount to Wilson to Selma, Dunn. And it's massive, dude. They do this like every year.
Wait, so this is like one continuous strip of
garage sale on the strip of road called 301, which is like a highway.
So yeah, is there like a map to show you which areas to go?
Yeah, it's actually, here's the map right here. Boom.
So I mean, just tell you like down here is like the fine china, and here's like car parts.
No, dude, it's just
you just gotta.
No, dude,
is it like just Thunderdome? You're every man for a woman for themselves.
Cars are just parked all down the highway and everything. It's really wild. So Selma became kind of like the antique capital of the world. So there's antiques all over it, and Selma's like dirt poor. I think like the average income in Selma was like $22,000, something like that a year. But Selma's a very small town. But anyway, all of this almost got done with, right? Again, we're the moonshine capital too. So NASCAR, everybody wants to say NASCAR started right here in Clayton because it's where Richard Petty Sr. was running moonshine for Percy Flowers, yada, yada, yada. The Air Force had B-52 bombers that were flying in and out of Seymour Johnson and Goldsboro. And one of them was carrying 2 atomic bombs bigger than Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They had a fuel leak. So they were trying, and their landing gear was fucking up. They had a whole bunch of mechanical issues. So the goal was that they were going to fly around until they emptied out all their fuel so that when they landed, if the landing gear wasn't up, the aircraft wouldn't blow up. Well, their gears were their electronics were so bad that they couldn't figure out, that they didn't understand that they were out of gas. So they lose control of the plane. Out of the 5 dudes, 2 ditched with parachutes and 3 died. The thing broke apart. And as the guy went down the parachute, he said he just remembers seeing the aircraft just disintegrating into the air and 2 atomic bombs detach from the plane. And I think they only found like 1. But they dug up this area, this massive area. And you can still see it from satellite. It was like 400. I can't. It was ridiculous. Look it up. Oh, here it is. I got it right here. This happened in 1961, in January of 1961, and it had been in Eureka, North Carolina, which is right down the road from here. Anyway, I don't have the thing, but anyway, they had to dig up to get the plutonium out of the earth, but only one failsafe kept the bomb from blowing up, and it was this like little dinky parachute. All the other all the switches had armed because it spun enough times. It spun, it fell, that detonated. There was 4 safeguards. The only one that lasted was the actual parachute slowing the bomb down enough, or something crazy like that. But had those 2 bombs went off, it would have ended Clayton, Selma, Smithfield, Goldsboro, Wilson, all the way down to Rocky Mount would have just been dead. Like everybody would have died. And then Raleigh would have been cancered, and Apex, Durham. I mean, global. And these documents were just declassified in 2013. So people didn't even really know that it happened. But yeah, pretty wild, right?
So yeah,
it's a very weird place.
It's things before the internet where we were oblivious to what was going on. So they only found one.
I don't know. Like, I haven't read the whole story.
Okay.
I think, like, rumor is that they only found one, and then, like, one might have been in a swamp. I don't know. I've heard a couple different stories.
Well,
I've
actually,
never, like, sat down and just studied it. So.
But what I had heard, actually, was the other one is at that garage sale.
Well, that's the thing, too. Is, like, at this garage sale, the American Pickers have been involved. The American Pickers have been down here a bunch. And there used to be a whole hidden lot of woods that everybody knew, and it had all these moonshine cars with the suicide doors. A whole bunch of them. I used to take guests that came in. I would take them to go see this lot. It's a hidden. It's like you have to go through. You had to hike down in the woods a little bit, and it was just this like boneyard of all these suicide door moonshine vehicles. And they'd have paintings on them with like moonshine things. Like well, the American Pickers came to town, and now they're gone. I don't know if the Pickers bought all of them, but literally the American Pickers came into town. I went back like 2 weeks later to show another guest that was in town the cool moonshine vehicles. We're gonna go walk through them and everything. Gone skis. They're all gone. They've been removed from the woods. Probably 30 of them.
Wow.
But, you know, there's a lot of weird historical things. I mean, I found like a Civil War era holster on my property and found out that my neighborhood was where the Union stayed before the Battle of Bentonville, and then it became a Boy Scout campground. I mean, it's just a very historical place here.
Yeah,
It's like a very cool place. You get the Falls of the Neuse where Blackbeard's treasure may or may not be somewhere on the Falls of the Neuse at some point. You know what I mean? Like,
so I know even though you grew up in
St. Augustine.
St. Augustine, and I'm sure probably the same thing as when I grew up in New Jersey, and we did a lot of the field trips to American Revolutionary War sites and things like that, in travels and battlefields and et cetera. I would assume very similarly. It's just kind of maybe what they do in schools here. I'd assume maybe some Civil War stuff, or and I don't know.
It's Johnson County, man.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't think they.
Yeah, well,
I don't think there's much going on in those schools. I mean,
I guess
I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm just kidding. We homeschool.
Yeah.
If that tells you anything. Like, I'm so
Yeah.
stupid, but I'm like, I'm dumb, but I'm not as dumb as the bullshit they're trying to pull here in these schools.
Yeah.
I'll just homeschool my kid.
So yeah. This is a very interesting area. That, again, there's a lot of that people don't know. I mean, I know they're passing up 95 here, cutting through. We're not far from 95, and
no, we're like 15 minutes off of 95. So if you're in the town, we do have some really good restaurants here in this little town. We got Manning's restaurant, which is phenomenal. So if you come by, you got to hit up Manning's. There's Crawford's across the street. You got Revival 1869, which is just this crazy, awesome prohibition style cocktail bar in the middle of this when you drive through Clayton, you would be like, man, that is a small dink town. But when you go inside these buildings, you're like, oh my God, I'm in this is a heavenly place. Like, this is like everybody in here is dialed in. Like everything is, Manning's their restaurant is perfect. The scallops are perfect. The steak's perfect. But when you drive through this town again, you're just kind of like, what is this? But when you open the door to Manning's, you're like, where? It's like my studio. Yeah. You drive by the studio, you even said, you're like, just kind of looks like a hole in the wall. But then you come in and you're like, man, what is this party place? Like, the whole strip is like that. Pretty cool. The brewery's incredible. It just looks like an old rundown cotton mill. And you go in the brewery and it's just massive tanks. It's beautiful. Yeah. Deep River Brewery. Everything about this town is cool. But everybody knows everybody. Right. And that's cool, but like it's nice. You can't really get away with anything.
Right. You gotta be careful.
I like to cheat on my wife a lot, but I can't do it in this town. No, I'm just kidding. I've never cheated on my wife ever.
It's a good thing she doesn't listen to the podcast.
She's like, he's on so many podcasts, I don't want to hear it. I don't care what he says anymore.
But it was that which wife? Because somebody made reference that your other wife.
Well,
no.
I don't have like more than one wife,
no. I'm saying it was somebody posted on Instagram saying, "Hey, I don't like your wife's voice."
Yeah. There's a girl that I podcast with, and they were like, and that's another thing. It's like that article. It's like, who the fuck thinks that they deserve to write this shit? Yeah. It's like I saw a thing on even when I saw like strippers on billboards driving down to Florida, it's not like I would ever say anything. Like, because who am I? Like, why am I the one that gets to be this voice or whatever? But like some dumb bitch decided to put on our YouTube channel, Failure to Stop, Night Shift, which we have this very lovely lady named Andrea Uplade who gives us a true crime story, and then I react to it. This woman, whose name was like Jesus something, like Jesus First or something, like Jesus Bible's First, I don't know. But this wasn't very Jesus-like of her, but she says, I don't like the sound of your wife's voice. It makes it very hard to listen to this podcast. One, I don't give a shit what your opinion is.
No, I think she was actually talking to Andrea.
She was.
So it was your voice.
Well, she didn't like my voice. She thinks Andrea's a dude. I'm a transy. They do call me that.
Yeah,
I have long hair.
Yeah, you get it pretty brutal.
My kids asked me the other day why people call me transy.
Awkward.
Yeah, I just said, I don't know, son, because they can't. They're too stupid to say tansy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bitch one.
But yeah, the definitely the real story there is I do have a podcast, and the network that I podcast for made a, I don't know, what do you call it, thumbnail cover or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's a cartoon of me. I do look like a trans. I look like a cross between Jeremy Renner and Rosie O'Donnell. Which was, if I was trans, that's not who I would go for. I would want to look like somewhere between like
You do look a little chunky in
Dr.
that picture.
Quinn, Medicine Woman, and Fabio. That's what I would want. If I was a trans, that's the look I'd go for. Fabio and Jane Seymour, not Rosie O'Donnell and Jeremy Renner.
And if you're listening to the podcast for the very first time here, so
I would be. That's a pretty good mix, though. Fabio and Dr. Quinn, right? Those are beautiful people.
they know that nothing wrong. Yeah, that's right. I just can't believe it's not butter.
Because if I was going to change myself to be trans, I want to be beautiful. Because right now I'm an ugly dude. If I'm going to make a transition, I want to be a hot chick. So I'd go all in. I'd be beautiful, dude. I'd be the bomb. I'd use all those apps to compare faces. Like I would say, like, here's Jane Seymour's face, here's Fabio's face. Let's merge them together, see whose hair's better, Fabio's, and then like.
Oh, you mean the apps that the Chinese are using to basically get all of our facial recognitions and so forth?
Yeah,
anyway,
I would do that.
Yeah.
I would do like your face with Pamela Anderson's face.
Oh,
You know, like that's the trans I want to be. Nobody's gonna buy my rum now.
No, yeah, there you go. Yeah. So
I don't even know if what I'm saying is bad. I'm not trying to be disrespectful at all.
We'll find out.
I'm trying to celebrate it.
Yeah, there you go. We'll find out on our downloads. So all right, let's get back to rum. So all right, so where can folks find Instill rum?
Orlando, Florida, St. Pete. And it's the one with the faces on the bottle.
Okay.
So
And
we have
let's
portraits.
talk-
We have portraits of true ladies. Again, that wasn't. And this is really funny, right? Because our name is Instill because we want to instill set of values of hard work, family first. We don't care about your sexual orientation. We don't care about religion. We don't care about your politics. We don't really care about shit. Like we're basically just equal opportunity offenders of everyone anyway. But we don't care about politics at all. Like there's nothing that drives us, right? Like we're all. I think the lawyer's probably a Democrat if on paper. I'd probably be more of a Republican, I guess. But like that doesn't define us. Like I don't have any political stickers on my car. I don't wear any of the shirts or any of the things. But we wanted to instill a set of values of hard work, family first. And we thought at the time, like nobody works harder than a true lady. And so we wanted to have portraits of women who were like true ladies. And that spawned because if you go to the wine store, a wine bottle's neutral, meaning that it's not masculine or feminine. Like a wine bottle is like really nice. Like you can grab a bottle of wine and be like, you know what? Your wife could be like, I want to draw a nice warm bath and grab my book, pour a nice bottle of this Brunello and enjoy my evening. And I could take that same bottle of Brunello and be like, you know what? I'm going to go light up a cigar, look at the lands I just mowed and enjoy a glass of wine. It's not masculine or feminine, but if you go to a liquor store, it is overtly masculine. And it's overtly white dude masculine. Captain Morgan, Admiral Nelson, Elijah Craig, Jack Daniels, Jim Beam. I mean, like Nick Williams. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on and on. And or it's overtly feminine, where it's like pink sparkle glitter bomb bitch vodka.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
But nothing's like neutral. So I wanted to have like not a feminine bottle, but I wanted to have a more neutral bottle that just definitely wasn't masculine.
Right.
And that's what we came up with. Is these artistic paintings of just a portrait, like a headshot of women who inspire us, who instill the values of hard work, family first. And, you know, our artist is Bruce Corona. Terrible name for the times, but it's his God-given government name, Bruce Corona. Spelled the same way. Phenomenal Instagram page, by the way. And our lady number one, our white rum lady, is his fiance without makeup. He thought that was a portrait of a true lady. That was the definition of a true lady. Our second lady is the spiciest girl we know. It was the first girl we ever met in Clayton. She she sits on the Persons of Color Coalition of Clayton as of recently. She's the president. But you know, she wasn't when we rolled this out, but she was just this very spicy girl that we love. And she's, you know, that's why we made her in the spice rum. Now, her dress in the portrait is orange. And And we painted it, it's orangish brown, but it's to match the color of the rum, not her skin color. Because she is, partially black, I guess you would say. I mean, I don't know.
Whatever.
You know what I'm saying? Like, she's definitely not a white person.
Right.
Or a Caucasian person, I should say. But then our third bottle is this girl named Temple. And Temple, she adopted a heroin addict's baby on an airplane. It's a big story. She was in People magazine, all these things. But now that child is 4 years old. He's amazing. She's an amazing woman, and she's just, just an inspiration. She owned a great wine shop. That's one of my favorite places on earth. So anyway, that was it. We just said that these are women who inspire us, that instill us. We don't really tell the story so much on the bottles. It's on the website, but again, it was just more of less to have something that wasn't super masculine. Now, we went to Florida, and I went to do sales in Florida, and I go into this coffee shop that's also a liquor store, and I can't find my rum. And then I see that there are bottles that have a warning label and brown bags over it that says possibly offensive content. And I was like, damn, who's got an offensive bottle in a coffee shop? And I look under the thing, and it's my rum.
Wow. And
I'm like, did they hear my podcast, or did I say something? Because, I just say shit,
Yeah.
None of it's mean, I don't think. It's just, I just speak. My brain goes faster than my mouth goes faster than my brain does. And I asked the lady, I said, well, why is my rum covered up? She said, we think it's very offensive that there's a white woman on the white bottle and a person of color on the colored bottle. And I said, well, I'm the owner. And let me tell you, that's one, this girl is not orange, and the spiced rum is more like an orangish brown. This girl's more like a, I don't know, brown, tannish brown.
Yeah.
And we literally matched the orange dress that she's wearing to the color of the rum, because that's the contrast that we wanted to bleed in. So it had nothing to do with putting a person of color on the spiced rum, because Temple is white, and she's on a brown bottle too. Like, it just, it's crazy. We didn't think about race at all. We didn't think about women's power or women's movements. We didn't think about that at all. It just is what sounded cool to us. It looked good to us. And we thought it was like our own personal thing. And it's really become now like...
Yeah, it's an unfortunate... And I know there's a lot going on, and which I don't want to get into, but I think you're right. Everyone has... Nobody understands intentions past... there's something behind it. And I'm glad you're telling this story, because if people see that or have gone into that coffee shop, they're hearing it firsthand, right? I mean,
it's so silly though. So silly, because it's like, to think, one, that we're smart enough to think like, hey, we should let's put a white girl on a white bottle. And what if our intent was, hey man, like we're three white dudes that own a distillery. Let's put females on there because. Well, I don't know. Like, who knows?
All right, let's pump the brake here and ask the question, right?
We have two black girls that work at our place too.
You have no issues.
Well,
they had the three ladies had no issues.
No.
With their face in
nobody
perpetuity.
Like nobody ever has told us that they had a problem with it. Not until, not until probably about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. At this point, but maybe it was like after the George Floyd things happened. I'm not sure what happened that sparked it, but there was there was a blog written in Charlotte about it, and I mean it was on Reddit. I think it's got like,
it must be true that it was on Reddit.
It's got like 12 likes. I don't really care. I never responded to it, but it said like the article was a tone deaf distillery, and they need to be listening to the times, and why would they have a white girl on a white bottle? So it was only the two places, one place in Charlotte and one place in Florida. And I'm not going to change. I could care less if everybody, because, that wasn't my intent. And those women are, three of the most influential women that I know. They're all very big personalities. I mean, Marissa, she is headstrong in her, she's a nurse, and she's very into the gay pride community. I mean, that's all her thing. Like, she does the rainbow colored stuff all the time. She's very into that, to the pride of trans people and gay people and all those things. Right. Elizabeth is, again, the president of the Persons of Color Coalition. She's all into things that are going on that are bringing persons of color together with, Mondo Roots Festival is a big festival that they do a big part of, which is, country music and reggae and, it's just celebrating culture and life, And then you got Temple, who's just this Southern, a Southern kind of belle that she's a powerhouse, man. She owns like 2 companies, like a wine shop and a doggy hairdos place. She was always working. And then she, is on the plane. She's in her 40s. She's single. She's on a plane with a heroin addict who's pregnant, who gives a sob story about she's trying to get rid of the baby. And Temple just is like, I'll follow you to the hospital and take the baby. I'll adopt your baby. And she does it, Yeah. And there's just women that are just like, damn, like these are, the women
that's a great story.
They're great people. Yeah. So we never thought for once, like, let's put a white girl on a white bottle or brown girl on a brown bottle. Nor did we, we still get a lot of messages like, we love the women's power statement that you're putting on your bottles and you're brave. Thank you. But again, that wasn't the purpose. We just did this because it sounded cool. And, that's what art is though, right? Like art is,
it's like doing the right thing. Right? It's like doing the right thing.
Whatever it says to you.
Doing the right thing, but not needing to be affirmed for it. I don't need the it's not that's what people don't seek out. Some do, but hey,
at the end of the day, it was literally the wine store is not feminine or masculine. The liquor store is overtly masculine or it's overtly feminine. Yeah. We need to find something in the middle.
Yeah.
What can we do in the middle? And, what speaks to us? And it was literally a joke. This is actually the truth. The truth was that we were all saying, like, I want something that's hardworking. That like works hard, honest, truth, integrity. Like, we're not going to use gimmicks or anything to try to sell people, like, right. Blah, blah, blah. But something that's like really hard work, family first oriented. And I think it was Lee's wife, actually. And I think she's like, well, nobody works harder than a true lady. And then we were like, yeah, we should put a bunch of women on the bottle or something like that. We all laughed. And then it was like, as the wine simmered and we were kind of like, actually, you know what? You're kind of right. Like, nobody does work harder than a true lady. And a true lady, by definition, would instill all the values that we're trying to instill in our brand. We're not a party brand. We're not a shots brand. We're not a go get wrecked brand. We're a brand that just is enjoy craft beverages. Which is what most craft spirits industries are. Right. And, that's exactly how it happened. Like it wasn't anything kind of like miraculous. Like
and for most people, their moms are the hardest working and, and taking care of all these things. And they pretty much, again, I'm not saying it's being one-sided, but again, for the majority, right. There's some,
generally speaking.
Yeah,
people don't like that word anymore. Yes. Generally speaking, but like generally speaking, it's kind of a thing.
Yeah,
so,
right. Yeah.
So, we love it. We love our bottles. I'm not going to change our bottles. I'm proud of them. I'm proud of the statement it does or does not make.
So I think I reached out to you like early last year, spring of last year, and I was like, "Hey, where can I?" Called you, texted you. I said, "Hey, where can I get some?" And I went up there in St. Augustine area, picked them up.
Cool.
And they popped off the shelf, and again, they stand out. They look great on the shelf. And they taste great. So, I mean, so definitely, in Central Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be in Florida next week.
Okay.
So
online,
beginning of August.
Anything online yet?
Yeah. RegencyLiquors.com.
Okay.
In Florida. And they do like 24-hour delivery too.
Okay.
But they deliver to, 29 states. Oh. The shipping's more than the bottles, but I mean, if you really want to try my rum, if you like really think I'm cool, like they're like, man, that guy's really cool on that podcast, not dumb at all. I want to. Just kidding. Nobody's gonna buy my rum off.
Come on. Hey, look, if you're traveling back up there, as Eric said, if you're wearing your sandals with your socks and you're on your way back up to the Northeast from your vacation, hey, it's 10, 15 minutes.
Listen,
off
if you
want
to be entertained for an hour, anytime somebody comes in and like they're not a regular, like you get the full Monty, man. Like you get, we roll out the red carpet for any visitor. So if you're on 95 and you want to top in, man, like we will absolutely entertain you.
Message you first though, right? Because what time do you normally open on during the week?
Always text message you. I mean, if you're stopping by and you tell me you're stopping by, which happens almost every day, I will drive up because you're in my studio here, but my office is my distillery is right down the road. So I always just pop in. I mean, if you're coming through 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, I'll go over there and open it up. I do the same thing I did for you.
Yeah, no,
I'm closed tonight, but
wife
goes over there, opens that shit up.
So stop. Yeah, so message them on social. Follow them on social media. Message them. And you respond. You're very good on response. You're very responsive on.
I like listening to your show a lot better than I like being on it, to be honest with you.
Oh.
Like, I think that the other episodes listening was more entertaining than me sitting here.
It was like the Christmas show, the Christmas happy hour show back in December.
I don't even remember what kind of day I was having then.
Oh, it was a little
drinking on that one too.
Yeah, I think so.
Probably.
Yeah. It was probably that good Yeah, you do. And you know, again,
And it was hot as fuck in that. It was my old studio. Hot as shit. It's hard to be in a good mood in that hot ass studio, man.
Yeah. But I definitely, it's, you know, Eric, I appreciate, spending the time with me today, showing me over the distillery, showing me the studio here, really dig the town here. And you do a lot of, events also at the distillery. It seems like the community comes around different nights, whether last night was poker, live music on Fridays, or even board games night or something, right?
Dungeons and Dragons.
Right,
They've had... you name it. Van Halen shows. We had a Van Halen tribute band, dude. Bluegrass show, punk rock show, reggae shows, comedy club. We had you name it. We've done adult prom night. We do a 0.5K every year. 0.5K. It's this year will be our third annual, which will make it North Carolina's official shortest race in North Carolina. So 0.5K, coffee and donuts in the middle. You get a medal. You get the bib number. All of the t-shirts. It's just like a real race, but you're only going half a kilometer. 0.5.
So we're not rum running.
It's basically a rum run.
Okay.
But you're going like
short of
500 meters.
So definitely not. I appreciate the, again, consider you a good friend. Even though this is the first time we met in person. I think that's Tony said. Have you met? You've met Eric Frost.
It's actually weird because if you would have asked me, I'd have been like, yeah, I've met him a few times. Yeah. But no, I think about it. No, we've never met. Yeah. We've just talked on the phone for years.
Yeah. They're like, hey, I'm going to be in Orlando. When are you going to come up? I'm like, shit, it's a Wednesday. I can't come up. I got stuff going on. But yeah, no, I'm glad I got the chance to come up. But I've been holding off wanting to have you on. I didn't want to do a Zoom with you. Wanted to come up, experience all this and meet you in person, meet in the distillery. Also, we're going to be tomorrow going over to OBX there over in the Outer Banks and so forth. So we got some... Hey, come along.
Jelly dog. I wish I could. If I wasn't going to Florida, I'd join you.
All right. So one last thing before we wrap things up here. All right. So no, you say you listen, so you know what's probably coming up here at the end of this show, right?
Yeah.
All right. So you ready for in 4 sips or less? All right. So here it is in 4 sips or less. Tony's here watching, so he's getting a little sneak peek of what this pain is going to be, right? Yeah.
He can't hear anyway.
Yeah. Jeez, too soon. All right. In 4 sips or less. Neat or on the rocks?
On the rocks.
Okay. In 4 sips or less, what's something about Clayton that people don't know? You may have already covered it.
There's a lot of swingers.
Okay.
There are. A fuck ton of them.
All right.
They ask all the time if my wife and I are interested. And I'm always like, no, but do I put off a vibe or something? But no,
so when you have the swingers,
probably once a month.
A swingers night at the distillery?
I'm not gonna do it. But about once a month, man, people ask if we're willing to swap, trade, or join, and we're always like, no, thank you though. That's really nice of you to offer, but
you don't kink shame.
We don't kink shame them. I'm just not gonna do it. Mainly because once she sees it, somebody else like there's a lot bigger dicks out there than what I got. I don't want her to know. She's a good Christian girl.
Oh boy.
She doesn't know what she's missing. I want to keep it that way.
There's only one. There's nothing else.
She's like, wait, they get bigger than 2 inches? That's incredible.
Yeah, we were definitely checking the box when we post this episode.
Okay, 4 sips.
In 4 sips or less. Do you remember what your first rum was?
Oh, probably Malibu. Probably Malibu.
I think for most people, right? Yeah.
Honestly, it was like Malibu and orange juice.
Okay.
Guarantee you that was my first.
I yelled at somebody the night because they had busted out Malibu. I said,
I jumped out of an airplane when I went to airborne school with in my pocket, my cargo pocket was Malibu and orange juice.
All right, 4 sips or less with a lottery that's going to be being drawn here on Friday, July, 29th?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Of $1 billion here from the Mega Millions.
Okay.
What would you do with that money?
Build a lot of skate parks all around the country and inner cities, but I would do it right in the inner city, not half-ass do it to say I built a skate park in the inner city, but make it just as badass as what you would have anywhere else. But it would be front and center, so it would give them something to be very proud of. That's what I would do.
No, that's very cool. All right. Well, he's made it through the podcast, and he knows what happens at the end of it. So there you go. This is actually in person here. You've got your shirt here. So you've got your Drums and Rum shirt with the Backbeats Meets Spirits there. So Oh, man! I should
Dude, I'm
have.
fat, so watch
So,
out.
I should have definitely
I
had.
didn't put a bra on.
I should have definitely had put this on the, on a super chat for Eric to get naked, right? Yes, the OnlyFans there. So,
I was in a pool all day, so my hair's
we're definitely going to sell these photos 8x10 glossies here. So yeah,
Dude, thank you.
Yeah.
Fits me perfectly.
So very good. So yeah, all right. So as we wrap up, what do you want people to check out? What do you want to get the word out there? I know you said you're not a sales guy, but here's the pitch to go tell people to check out everything.
Man, like if you enjoy rum, and you're really passionate about trying to taste rum that's probably as close as you can get to what you would have had in the Caribbean, but it was made in the Carolinas. Try it out, man. Try our rum. It's definitely our expression of what we think good rum is, and we didn't take any shortcuts. Not saying that you're guaranteed to like our rum, but we feel we didn't take any shortcuts, and we think that we're always adapting, we're always trying to make it better. And since the beginning, I mean, our first rums we thought were good, and every year I take a shot on the anniversary from the original OG recipe, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, I can't believe I told people this was good, But it's where we're at now is it's just we're always adapting, we're always coming. So, if you want to try rum and it's just an art expression, and it's I don't know, look at it as a piece of art, man. Like maybe you like it, maybe you don't. Yeah. But at the end of the day, we worked really hard on it. So that's why it's like hard for me to shit on people's art.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, man, somebody worked really fucking hard on that. Now it's the people that, just splatter shit and then throw it out there and they call it art.
Yeah, it's craft. All right, and it's craft.
Just because they're somebody's son and they can sell it for a lot more than it's worth. Maybe for a tax cover-up or something. I don't know. But, ours isn't like that. We worked really hard on ours.
All right, so Instagram and social media.
Instill Distilling Co.
Okay.
All one word. Okay. InstillDistillingCompany.com or InstillDistillingCo.com. Instill Distilling Co. on Facebook and Instill Distilling Co. on Facebook. If you want to be a part of the super secret group, it's Instillery. INSTILLERY, like distillery, but Instillery.
Okay.
And you can get in our little private group, which is just.
Man, I don't even think I'm in that.
It's nothing to be. I mean, it's just. It's what it is. I mean, it's nothing like knock the door down to be a part of it.
So all right.
I just yawned while saying it, so that's how exciting it is.
Hopefully, you're not putting people.
Really selling it.
Yeah, right.
Such a good salesman.
Yeah, you need to fire that salesman. So, all right, no, very cool. I appreciate the time, and hopefully everyone's got a good understanding of, North Carolina rum here, your story, how the whole evolution of it. I know there's so much more we could talk. We could spend probably more hours talking about a lot of different things, but I know you've got a lot of things doing. And also, I forgot to say thank you for your service there. Also,
thank you for my service.
Yes. So check out this. I said this podcast will be dropping.
Everybody's like, this guy is such a piece of shit.
August 2nd, our first podcast for Rum Month.
You got a whole month of this debauchery. That's why you should only have a day.
That's right. Yeah, because we're just gonna keep dropping the same episode every Tuesday all the August. No, so I definitely appreciate then. So check out our podcast there, rate, review, and he'll tell you how important it is.
Dude,
go
get
ahead
that rate and review. If you listen to this whole thing up and down, and you put up with all this
silliness,
this bad marketing salesmanship. If you've made it this far, you owe the dude a hammer and a like. Give the guy a like.
There you go. So check out all the other podcast episodes there. This is it. This is Paul from Backbeats Meets Spirits. Have a great night, y'all. If you like what we're doing here at Drums and Rums, we have a Patreon link to help with setting up interviews and creating content that you find entertaining and interesting. Also, if you'd like to sponsor, advertise on the podcast, or if you want to come on as a guest to promote something related to the show, email me at info@drumsandrums.com. Lastly, I want to thank Brad Brock tune titled Once Upon a Bottle of Rum, and check out his podcast, Jams and Cocktails. Thanks again for listening, where the backbeats meet the spirits.